Welcome back to CMF Conspiracies. Tonight, we're heading to a place where even the shadows seem to hold secrets. Skinwalker Ranch, you've probably heard about it, the strange lights, the whispers of other dimensions. But we're diving into a particularly chilling mystery, the vanishing cattle.
Yeah, what's fascinating about these disappearances is that they go beyond typical livestock loss. We're talking about a pattern of events stretching back decades that has left ranchers baffled and investigators just scratching their heads.
Okay, so cattle disappearances happen, right? Predators, theft, getting lost. It's not unheard of. But what makes Skinwalker Ranch different? Why are we devoting a whole deep dive to this?
The circumstances surrounding these disappearances are what set it apart. Imagine this. A rancher is tagging a calf, turns away for a moment, and poof, it's simply gone. No struggle, no footprints, no sign of a predator. It's like they vanished into thin air.
That's unsettling. And to think, we're talking about a 1,000-pound animal just disappearing. I mean, where do you even begin to look for clues when there's nothing left behind?
Exactly. It defies conventional explanations. So naturally, people have come up with a range of theories, some more grounded than
All
others.
right, let's unpack some of those theories. But before we go full-on X-Files, let's start with the more mundane possibilities. Could this be just really good predators?
Well, while predators are a common cause for livestock loss, the evidence at Skinwalker Ranch doesn't quite fit. Experienced trackers have found no signs of a struggle, no drag marks, no remains, nothing to suggest a predator was involved.
Okay, so we can likely rule out mountain lions or wolves making off with a whole cow. What about something like rustling? Could someone be stealing these cattle?
Hmm. Theft is another possibility, but it doesn't explain the sheer number of disappearances or the bizarre circumstances. Rustlers typically leave tracks, tire marks, or other evidence. Plus, why target a remote ranch with a reputation for the unexplained? It seems like an unnecessary risk.
Okay, fair point. So if it's not predators or rustlers, we're venturing into the territory of the unexplained. Where do we go from here?
This is where those more out there theories come into play. We're talking about everything from alien abductions to interdimensional portals, and even the possibility of secret government experiments.
Whoa, hold on. Aliens. Portals. That escalated quickly. But before we get lost in a sci-fi vortex, let's start with those alien abductions. What makes people think extraterrestrials are beaming up cattle from a remote ranch in Utah?
Well, Skinwalker Ranch has a history of UFO sightings, with people reporting strange lights in the sky. Some believe these lights could be alien spacecraft, and the missing cattle are victims of extraterrestrial experiments, much like the stories of cattle mutilations we hear in UFO lore.
So it's like aliens are saying, hey, Earthlings, we need some burger samples for our intergalactic cookbook? But honestly, wouldn't it be easier for them to just grab a cow from a less conspicuous location? Why make it a whole spectacle with lights and disappearances?
Yeah, you raise a good point. If aliens are indeed responsible, their motives and methods remain a mystery. But the frequency of UFO sightings around the time of disappearances does make you wonder.
Okay, I'll bite. Let's say for argument's sake, aliens are involved. What about those interdimensional portals? Are we talking like a glowing doorway in the sky that cows just wander through?
It's a wild concept, I know. Some believe that Skinwalker Ranch might be a site where the fabric of reality is thin, allowing for these interdimensional rips to open. Witnesses have reported seeing shimmering, almost holographic, tears in the sky above the ranch.
Okay, now I'm picturing cows stepping through a portal and ending up on a planet where they're worshipped as deities. But seriously, how could something as large as a cow even fit through a rip in space-time?
That's where the concept of interdimensional travel gets really tricky. We're talking about physics beyond our current understanding. Think less about a physical opening and more about a bending of space-time, allowing objects to essentially bypass the normal rules of space and time.
All right, so maybe it's less about cows fitting through a door and more about reality itself getting folded. I'm starting to get a headache just thinking about it. But you mentioned government experiments. Are we saying the Pentagon might be behind these vanishing cows? What would they even want with them?
Well, it's no secret that the Pentagon had a program dedicated to researching UAPs, that's unidentified aerial phenomena. And there are documents suggesting a strong military interest in the strange events at Skinwalker Ranch.
Wait, UAPs, is that just a fancy way of saying UFOs? Or is there a difference?
It's a broader term, actually. It encompasses any aerial phenomenon that can't be immediately identified. So yes, UFOs fall under that umbrella, but UAP also includes things like unexplained atmospheric events or advanced technology we might not recognize.
Got it. So the government was interested in Skinwalker Ranch because of these UAPs. But how does that connect to the disappearing cows? Are they testing some kind of cattle teleportation device?
It's certainly a possibility. Perhaps they're experimenting with technologies that could inadvertently cause these disappearances. Or maybe the cattle are somehow entangled in whatever phenomena they're investigating. But of course, with anything government related, there's always a shroud of secrecy, making it difficult to separate fact from speculation.
Okay, so we've got aliens, interdimensional portals, and maybe even the government up to something shady. It's a lot to take in, but there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about yet. The paranormal, and specifically the legends of the skinwalkers themselves.
Ah, yes. We can't talk about Skinwalker Ranch without mentioning the Ute tribe's stories of these shape-shifting entities. They're said to be powerful and malevolent, known to steal livestock, and in some cases, even humans.
So are we saying that these ancient legends might hold the key to the missing cattle? Could the skinwalkers be real?
It's hard to say for sure. Folklore often blends reality with fear and superstition, but it can also reflect real events or observations that people couldn't explain at the time.
Right, like those stories about sea monsters that turned out to be giant squid. So what if the Ute people were seeing these cattle vanish hundreds of years ago, and the skinwalker legend was their way of making sense of it, their version of an alien abduction, in a way?
That's a fascinating perspective. It's a reminder that what we consider paranormal or supernatural today might have been perceived differently by past cultures. Their explanations were shaped by their beliefs and understanding of the world.
So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Aliens, interdimensional portals, government secrets, ancient legends. It's enough to make your head spin, but I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
You're absolutely right. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of this fascinating and unsettling mystery. There's so much more to explore.
Well, buckle up, listeners. We're about to venture deeper into the weirdness that is Skinwalker Ranch. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll examine the modern investigations into these disappearances and the even stranger phenomena that continue to plague this mysterious place.
Welcome back to CMF Conspiracies as we journey deeper into the heart of Skinwalker Ranch. We're shifting our focus to those who've tried to solve this puzzle. The investigators, the researchers, those who've dared to stare into the unknown.
Okay, so we've explored some pretty wild theories, but are there people actually trying to get to the bottom of this, like with real science and evidence? Or is it all just speculation and campfire stories?
Oh, absolutely. Skinwalker Ranch has attracted some serious researchers over the years, people determined to separate fact from fiction. And one name that stands out, Brendan Fugel, the current owner of the ranch.
So this isn't just some eccentric millionaire who bought a spooky ranch for kicks. He's actually invested in figuring out what's going on there.
Exactly. Fugel have assembled a team of scientists, engineers, even former military personnel. They're using cutting-edge technology, thermal imaging cameras, drones, sensors, all to monitor the ranch and gather data. Think of it as a high-tech approach to unraveling an age-old mystery.
That's impressive. So what have they found? Anything that supports those outlandish theories we talked about earlier? Or are they debunking them one by one?
Well, this is where things get even more intriguing. Fugel and his team claim to have captured thermal images of something truly bizarre. Invisible entities moving near the cattle.
Hold on. Invisible entities, like ghosts? Or are we talking predator with its cloaking device?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The thermal images show heat signatures that don't correspond to any known animal or object. And they seem to move with purpose, often appearing near the cattle just before they vanish.
You know, this is making me think about those stories of phantom cats or black dogs from folklore, creatures that are seen but never quite caught. Could these thermal images be picking up something similar, a creature we just haven't identified yet?
It's certainly possible. There's a long history of people reporting encounters with strange creatures, often described as shadowy or elusive. Perhaps modern technology is finally giving us a glimpse of something that's been lurking on the fringes of our perception for centuries.
All right, I'm getting chills here. So we've got invisible entities on the ground. What about those mysterious aircraft we talked about? Any luck catching those on camera?
There have been multiple reports of strange lights and unidentified objects in the sky above Skinwalker Ranch. Fugel's team claims to have captured footage of these objects on several occasions, often just before cattle disappear.
So we've got things in the sky, things on the ground. This is starting to feel like a scene from a Spielberg movie. But do we have any idea if they're connected to the cattle disappearances? Or are they just adding to the general weirdness of the place?
It's tempting to draw a connection, but we have to be careful about jumping to conclusions. Just because these strange events occur around the same time doesn't necessarily mean they're the cause of the disappearances. It could be a coincidence, or maybe these events are somehow intertwined in a way we don't yet understand.
Right. It's like trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing and the picture on the box keeps changing. But you mentioned something earlier that really creeped me out. The case of the bloodless cow.
Ah, yes. This incident is one of the most unsettling in Skinwalker Ranch's history. A cow was found dead, drained of blood, but but there were no wounds, no signs of a struggle, no tracks. It was as if something had extracted the blood with surgical precision, leaving the body completely intact.
I remember reading about cattle mutilations being linked to UFO sightings and alien abductions. Is that what we're dealing with here? Some kind of extraterrestrial blood drive?
It's certainly a popular theory, but there's no concrete evidence to support it. The bloodless cow at Skinwalker Ranch and similar cases reported elsewhere remain unexplained. Some speculate about advanced technologies, perhaps a way to extract blood without leaving a trace. Others point to the paranormal suggesting entities with abilities beyond our understanding.
Okay, so we're back to the aliens, the government, and maybe even those shadowy skinwalkers. But if it's not them, then what? Is there a scientific explanation for something like this?
There are a few possibilities, though they're not without their own set of challenges. Some researchers propose that certain predators, like large catch, might have developed techniques for draining blood efficiently, leaving minimal traces. Others suggest that rare diseases or environmental factors could be responsible for the blood loss, though it's hard to reconcile that with the lack of any visible wounds.
It feels like every time we get close to an answer, another layer of the mystery is revealed. But that's what makes this so fascinating, right? The unknown keeps pulling us in, demanding that we keep searching for the truth.
Exactly. And Skinwalker Ranch is a place where that search takes on a whole new dimension. It's a place where the boundaries of reality seem to blur, where the impossible becomes possible.
Well, for our listeners, hold on to your hats because we're about to dive even deeper into the rabbit hole. Stay tuned for part 3 where we'll explore the most unsettling theories surrounding Skinwalker Ranch and what those vanishing cattle might be telling us about the nature of reality itself.
Welcome back to CMF Conspiracies. We're deep in the trenches of Skinwalker Ranch, sifting through layers of mystery to try and understand those vanishing cattle.
It's a puzzle that's both fascinating and frustrating. Despite all the investigations, all the technology, those disappearances remain shrouded in enigma.
So we've considered aliens, interdimensional portals, even the government dabbling in things they shouldn't. But there's one element that keeps creaking back into the conversation: the Ute tribe's legends of the Skinwalkers. Could those ancient stories hold the missing piece of this puzzle?
You know, it's remarkable how these stories passed down through generations still hold such power. The Skinwalkers, those malevolent, shape-shifting entities, have haunted the imagination of those who've dared to venture onto Skinwalker Ranch. And it's not just the stories themselves, it's the context, right? Skinwalker Ranch sits right in the heart of Ute territory. Their connection to this land goes back centuries.
Exactly. The Ute people's understanding of this land, their relationship with the natural world, was deeply intertwined with their beliefs and their stories. These weren't just campfire tales to scare children. They were a way of explaining the unexplainable, the things that defied their understanding.
So what if the Ute people were witnessing these cattle disappearances hundreds, maybe even thousands of years ago? And the Skinwalker legend was their way of making sense of it, a way to explain something that, even today, we're struggling to understand.
It's a compelling thought, isn't it? The Skinwalkers, as described in Ute tradition, were often associated with the manipulation of the natural world, with strange occurrences, with things vanishing and reappearing. Could their legends be echoing events that have been happening on that land for far longer than we realize?
It's like we're trying to solve a modern mystery with ancient clues. But how do we separate the folklore from the reality? Are we talking about literal shapeshifters snatching cattle? Or is there a deeper meaning hidden within these legends?
That's the challenge, isn't it? We have to approach these stories with both respect for the Ute culture and a critical eye. Perhaps the Skinwalkers are metaphorical, representing forces or phenomena that the Ute people couldn't explain with their language or their understanding of the world. Or maybe, just maybe, there's an element of truth to these legends that we haven't grasped yet.
It's a fine line to walk. We don't want to dismiss the beliefs of an entire culture, but we also need to approach this with a healthy dose of skepticism. After all, we're dealing with a place where the lines between reality and myth seem to blur.
Precisely. And that's what makes Skinwalker Ranch so captivating. It challenges our assumptions, forces us to confront the possibility that there might be more to the world than we can see or understand. It's a place that whispers of the unknown, of the things that lurk just beyond the edge of our perception.
So where does this leave us? We've explored a range of theories, from the extraterrestrial to the paranormal, each with its own set of questions and contradictions. Do we have any closer to solving the mystery of the vanishing cattle?
Honestly, the more we delve into Skinwalker Ranch, the deeper the mystery seems to become. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes the pursuit of knowledge is more about the journey than the destination. It's about expanding our understanding, challenging our beliefs, and embracing the possibility that there are still things in this world that defy explanation.
Well said. And perhaps that's the most important takeaway from our deep dive into Skinwalker Ranch. It's a reminder that there are still mysteries out there, still things that make us wonder. Still questions that might never have easy answers.
And maybe, just maybe, that's okay. The unknown can be a source of both fear and wonder. It can inspire us to keep searching, keep questioning, keep exploring the boundaries of what we think we know.
Beautifully put. And for our listeners, we encourage you to continue your own exploration of Skinwalker Ranch. Dig into the research, consider the theories, and maybe, just maybe, you'll come up with your own explanation for those vanishing cattle. Until next time, keep your minds open, your curiosity piqued, and never stop searching for the truth wherever it might lead you.
Thank you for joining CMF Conspiracies podcast. What do you think about the topic we covered today? Comment below with your thoughts on this subject. If you have a conspiracy you wish for us to deep dive into, please send your topic to our email address or leave it in the comments. Thank you again for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this.